Yeah, good evening. My name is Tribble. I'm here alongside Reed Rapidcast and Melton to break down the OMG versus LGD pick and ban phase for the Spring Split quarterfinals. Welcome, man.
Hello, it's good to be here.
Yeah, so today was a huge upset. LGD just destroying OMG 3-0, and one of the well most upsetting things was actually the pick and ban phase for OMG in all three games. So that's why I wanted to break it down with you.
Yeah, I agree with you calling it an upset just because it was upsetting for OMG fans. Not because, there was no potential behind LGD. I actually called LGD to win it, although I thought it was going to be a 3-2 exchange. Uh, like you said, OMG just really failed to react correctly to what LGD's game plans were in each successive game and had major shortcomings in the picks and bans. So I think it's important to talk about those.
Yeah, alright, so everyone on the screen can see the picks and bans for the first game, and everything is in order of pick and ban, so the champions haven't been swapped yet. And the first thing that we see on OMG side is that they obviously banned the Kassadin for God V. That's not a real strange pick since he's like 80% win rate on the champion.
Yeah, Kassadin is a monster in LPL, especially with its most recent changes. Like, if there's a champion that while in the hospital you can come out and carry a game with, something tells me that champion may be somewhat strong, and it's not just any of the Korean players that can pull it out. Godv or Wayless equally as capable.
Yeah, they're both as good as each other on the champions. It was really, really good to see him play it in game 3 and also pawn in game 5 against World Elite. But these Urgot and Trundle bans,
Yeah.
those are
Okay.
really
So
mind blowing.
yeah, well, Trundle is a pocket pick. It's something that Acorn has pulled out before, and I think mostly OMG were just saying, look, we really, really don't want to deal with that top lane because it's something that can shut down our top laner. And for OMG, so many times, going is their carry. And you look and you see Uzi on the team, or Uzi, I'm not going to inflame that issue anymore. But you look and you see him on the team, and you're just like, well, he's obviously the carry. It's Tristana for Pete's sake. But putting so much effort into, like you said, the Trundle ban there really leaves the door open for just about everything. And maybe they didn't expect the Kennen pick necessarily coming in, but still, going for a pocket pick or a pocket ban here just because you don't want to deal with a niche top laner that Acorn could play isn't necessarily a lot of value for that last ban spot.
No, because I've been looking it up, and he hasn't played Trundle this split in the LPL. So the only thing that when I was watching the games was like, perhaps he's been spamming it in solo queue. Same for the Urgot on MP. Never played Urgot in the LPL. Perhaps he played it in solo queue a lot, and they're afraid of it. Maybe they face them off in solo queue, and they're just a little bit afraid for those picks. But I don't know. But these bans are really weird, especially considering that Imp eventually ended up on the Callista, and Godvi got his Oriana. Those are just really, really weird bans considering they give away two pocket pick champions.
Well, it's not necessarily pocket picks, but just like the main champion. And over the entire course of this series, like at some point you start to figure out that Godv may be good at Oriana. And usually that point would be through the first half of the regular season. He put up huge numbers on Oriana. And it's not just this split. Like, it's not just that this split of LPL, he became suddenly good at that champion. It's always been one that he can consistently go to. He can play like the Xiao Wei Xiao style, where you just farm your brains out and have a million CS super early. And actually, I believe he used to do that back when you could build Spirit of the Spectral Wraith on your mid laner, and then just go for the power farm game. But
Yeah.
He was one of the original mid laners to do that, to just build Spirit of the Spectral Wraith and just farm super hard, which has always been something that Oriana's been great at. It holds multiple world CS records at different times, and it took it game 1, and if that wasn't bad enough, he took it again in game number 2. Just another illustration of OMG completely not respecting one of the key carries for LGD.
Yeah, definitely. Especially what you say, he's been tremendous on the champion. The last couple of weeks he played it, and you saw just some shock waves just turning games around. Just team fights that were going even, then all of a sudden, boom, the shock wave pops. picks up 3, 4 champions, and the game was over. So yeah, they weren't respecting that. And then when the bans were done and the first pick came through from OMG, and I saw going picking up the Hackerim, that was perhaps even weirder even than the Tristana pick for Uzi.
At the same time, this is game number one we're talking about. Once we get later on through the series, it's a little bit of deja vu. History kind of repeats itself. Finally, OMG later on would ban out the Orianna, but it's that same matchup: Go-Goings, Hecarim versus, well, in that case it was Flame, but it started out as Acorn. That Gnar in the top lane just proved to be something that Go-Going could never really deal with adequately. And while, sure, your top lane matchup 1v1 isn't necessarily what you focus on because that's just the lane phase. It's about the team fights. Go-Going really this series, he got put on good champions for him to carry on. Well, with the exception of game 2 as Maokai, but just didn't have the performance that we've been looking for him to have, if the regular season is any indication.
Yeah, I slightly disagree since I found his Gnar performance, the whole split, really impressive. I love looking at the stats, see how successful his team was since he's one of the main carries.
Oh, right. Like his Gnar stats are good, and a lot of his stats are good. Shyvana, even back when he used to play it last split, this split, I guess it hasn't been super popular for very long, this split, but like he puts up good numbers, but he didn't go for the Gnar. He gave that away every single chance he got, and kept really biting.
Win rate champion this split, so why would you give that one up?
Yeah, it's not just that, okay, so you have this champion that you win a lot of games on, and not only do you consistently give it away to the enemy team as a counter pick to the champion that you pick, but you go with this Hecarim over and over again, and it's like, okay, well, I'm going to pick Smite, and then I'm going to pick Ignite, and then I'm going to pick Smite, and then it just never works out, and just continuing to see the difficulties in adapting to what LGD were doing over the course of this. First game is a great illustration of where things started to go wrong.
All right, let's get into the second game then. OMG starting on the red side. And, well, one of the main things that I really liked about the ban phase for LGD was that they kept on banning out LeBlanc. They knew if Cool gets LeBlanc, it's game over, so we're just going to
a lot of respect there for Cool.
Yeah, it's just very easy. Cool on LeBlanc is deadly, just like Faker, so you ban it out. And then we look at OMG again, and they use that last ban again for the Urgot instead of using it perhaps for a Sejuani who gets
or Orianna, just like ban the Orianna. Like, okay, Urgot is tanky and difficult to deal with. He can swap you off of key targets. We get the idea, but I fail to see a world in which Imp's Urgot could have been as good as the Orianna that GodV had this series. Like, maybe it's out there and it's a devastating thing that Imp wanted to go for every single game, and that ban was totally worthy. But you can't argue that Urgot would have done better than what GodV did on Orianna.
No, well, and also if you look at other picks, other AD carry picks, you would never pick the Urgot up against, if you are a Imp player and you have the Kalista to pick from, you got maybe even the Twitch, which he still plays very good, you got the Sivir, which is really good in this meta. If you got those champions to pick, why would you pick up the Urgot, especially if you haven't played it the entire split? You look at those picks and bans and you're like, what am I missing?
Yeah,
they know that I don't know.
Exactly. There's actually a lot missing. We talked about Trundle early on, and then you see things that are consistent between all the OMG games. Like, we get it that you have a strategy that you want to think works, but when you hammer it through every single game and it keeps not working, Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Game number 1, they pick Hecarim, Tristana. It doesn't work. Game number 3, they pick Hecarim, and well, that time it wasn't the Tristana. They grabbed the Tristana in game number 2, and you just think to yourself, you're just like, oh, okay, so things that don't work. Hecarim top lane. All right, let's keep picking that one. Things that don't work. Tristana AD carry. 2 games in a row, it just doesn't work. And finally, they swap it out for something that does maybe a little bit better, but I don't know. Maybe if you had a 4 game series, they would have picked up, the next game, but it never got that far.
No, because then what you say, he eventually picks up the Tristana again in the second game, and you know what? Perhaps you can explain to me. Ori came through the pick and ban phase the entire series, and Cool didn't pick it up once.
Yeah, kind of interesting to me to see Cool not necessarily favoring those super aggressive assassins in every single one of these. Like game number one, he went Lulu, and I get the idea that you're supposed to help. The hyper carry scale and be that
Hmm.
big protector, but you'd expect maybe a little bit more. I mean, the double support is good for Uzi, and that works pretty well. But there were other issues game one. For game number two, they didn't even go for the Lulu. They're like, hey, we're gonna still run this hyper carry, but have even less protection for him. And they wanted to go double threat, and I guess I get that too. But at the same time, Cool. He went with Cassiopeia, which is like
Yeah.
kind of the opposite of Ari when it comes to mobility. It's a champion that literally has no mobility spells other than maybe like a tiny little move speed and slow, which doesn't really add up to Ari's Spirit Rush, which has always been one of Cool's strongest champions. May not have been necessarily a great pick versus the Oriana that's going to have magic resistance and command protect on him, and Nautilus to lock you down even through your mobility. But even still, especially like versus things like Nautilus and a Hecarim to dive you down and a Sejuani, you pick Cassiopeia.
And only with the clans. The clans is not going to do a lot. You need a lot more. You need the Banshee's Veil. You need
The
even
clans,
perhaps
Banshee's Veil, Mercurial Scimitar,
you need double Mikhails.
Athene's, double Mikhails. I don't even care. It's like, oh man, the struggle. But yeah, so the thing is not that, hey, they made a bad ban, they made a bad pick, and it didn't work out. The problem is that in every single one of the games, you see the same picks. It's like these are some of the best players in the world. They don't have shallow champion pools, but it was just a little bit of stubbornness to pick the same champions over and over again and not adjust to what they saw. Like the biggest illustration for me is Go Going, who had the exact same matchup both games one and game three, and it just never worked out.
Now, especially, I've got to be honest. I am an OMG fan. I really try to be neutral, but they completely blew my mind today.
Hmm.
I really lost my cool today during those matches, during those pick and ban phases.
Right.
Especially what you just pointed out, the Ari. It's such a mobile champion, and it's not even the fact that Cool plays it so well. It is the fact that he can influence all the other lanes. He can go with Loveling towards the top lane, towards the
Yeah.
bot lane, get his lanes ahead, and he just picks his immobile carries. And
Right.
also the Lulu. You want to play Lulu as a mid laner if you are a Baka or a Hitong who completely, with all due respect, just suck in the mid lane compared to
Exactly.
all the other mid laners in the LPL. Why
Yeah.
the hell are you picking a supportive mid laner when you're
Yeah, you,
such a
you
good
don't
carry?
pick Lulu if you just want to go even. You'll pick Lulu. Like Lulu has never been okay. There's that one game that I think CJ Antis played at the very beginning of LCK where Coco had like 1,000 AP on Lulu and was running around one-shotting people. Okay, that happens one game out of 100, but you don't pick Lulu to hard carry your game. You pick it as a supportive champion.
Yeah.
But OMG, one of the greatest strengths of their team, as one of sort of the last bastions of the all Chinese lineups, is that they have a triple threat. They have Uzi, Cool, and Go Going, any of which can just go off and hard carry the game. But instead, they're just like, Cool, you can't carry this game. You're gonna have to help Uzi carry, and Go Going, you're gonna try to carry this game and not and fail at it, which puts all the eggs in Uzi's back. But busket backet, I don't know, backet. I can't even say the word basket or bucket. Man,
In the
speaking is
backpack,
hard
man.
sometimes. Yeah, backpack. There you go. I'm not gonna screw that one up. But either way, and the OMG, especially in game one, they even tried to have the jungler care. They're just like, "Hey, Loveland, you can play Rengar, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, into Kennen, Nunu, no, or no, it
No,
just
it was
doesn't
it
work.
was
Sorry,
such a
man.
bad pick. It was such a bad pick, and really it was really disappointing. What you pointed
Mm.
out at the beginning, that yeah, OMG was trolling since the match against EDG. They've been screwing us fans around, to just put it like that.
Yeah, it's like,
And
when does the trolling stop?
yeah,
I
I
mean,
was
the
really psyched
LGD
for this
already got
match.
the Oscar. Like, you can't take it away from them.
The Oscar and the trio right now.
Yeah.
No,
Wow.
it was really mind blowing. And then we got into game three, and again the Ergod ban comes through, and I wasn't even getting mad at that point anymore. I was like, fuck it, whatever. Why don't you just ban the Shaco immediately too? If you just want to waste bans, they do ban the Oriana, and
Right,
they
right.
also
So the
ban the
Oriana
Nunu.
ban's good. Yeah, okay, so that Nunu ban, like, game one, you banned Kassadin for some reason. I don't care if no player in this game is good at Kassadin. You ban him for a reason, okay? And that reason is, theoretically, it's a good reason. Game two, what do you ban? The Kassadin for, once again, supposedly a good reason. It was a good reason. Game three, that good reason suddenly turns into a terrible reason, and you just don't do it. And give you a little bit of a hint: if you didn't watch the games, keep your eye on the mid lane. A lot of stuff happens there, and that stuff happens to increment the number in the kill category a lot. Godv, like, he saw Pawn do it, and he's like, "Hey, I can carry on Kassadin too," and just completely goes off there. I think he got a triple kill in that last game too. It was,
Yeah, he got a triple kill in. There was a bot lane fight, and it got
yeah,
towards the
he
Baron
just
pit. Yeah.
massacred everyone, and all of a sudden, like, okay, so game two they banned the Nunu. That's good. It's a reactionary ban. That's what we're talking about. OMG needing to do is, reactionary bans. So, like, okay, we're gonna give up the Trundle ban
That was a
for a Nunu.
big,
Yeah,
big consideration, man. Giving up that Trundle ban, man. I mean,
yeah, I know, man. That you're gonna lose game. I can't tell you how many games have been won or lost based on the presence of a Trundle. I mean, it's a pocket pick, and it can work out in a lot of situations. Specifically, now we have like this big tank meta. Trundle's great at countering that,
and he's a troll.
but well, that ban was pretty troll, no matter who they decided to ban there. But so game two, they adjust and they ban Nunu instead. But game three, they kind of just like they mix things up. They're totally petrified of this Urgot pick. And to be fair, Imp is a petrifying player. Like, you don't want to give him a champion you believe is going to be game changing. So
Nope.
I guess I get the Urgot pick, but then continuing to ban the Nunu, I don't know. I mean, Nunu's great for objective control, buffing your hyper carry, tons of stuff like that. And you don't want to give up the Nunu and make Imp even stronger, but at the same time, letting Kassadin through after consecutively banning it, a major oversight that really cost them.
Yeah, but also, the Nunu ban, you're banning TBQ out. What era are we living where you have to ban TBQ?
Yeah,
The
exactly. Like,
weakest link on that team. I mean,
and he's
it,
been the weakest link for so long. Like, nobody has ever looked at Chuan and said, this guy is going to carry this team.
and I do got to say, after this series, I personally said that this guy was, for me, was the MVP because he he wasn't expected to do anything.
To be fair, yeah, I recall a lot of analysts like asking, like, even in the OMG AMA, I think somebody asked the question, and it's like, Chuan gets a lot of hate for not showing up. He's kind of like the Bengi of China. Um, but man, you got to kick it in the clutch, and he definitely did. Game number one, Nunu, even if he can't carry, he's going to help Imp carry.
It was
Game
annoying,
number
man.
Yeah, game number two, he's got Sejuani. I don't care if you're playing blind with, like half a finger on one of your hands. Sejuani's going to do some work no matter what.
Yeah.
And yeah, game two or game three, he's playing Gragas too. Definitely one of the top three junglers right now as far as tankiness is concerned. So, just really good picks by LGD. If they, not necessarily if they have a pick phase like this. In the continuing the playoffs, but if their opponents have pick phases like OMG did, I mean, LGD goes straight to MSI.
No, definitely. I mean, but with this OMG, I was thinking perhaps they still think it's double elimination. I don't know what's going on, but also in game three they put Cool on Azir, who he has barely played, and he was terrible on him. He couldn't influence the mid lane or the side lanes at all. He didn't do anything. He got repeatedly shit on actually and caught out of position.
Yeah, over and over again, and that's like the difference between like challenger players and then like these top level pro players is how you play from behind. It's like, okay, I realize I will not be able to carry this lane, so I play more defensively, give things up to just stay alive and not die. not dying in China is probably the hardest region to do that in, and it
Yeah.
kind of showed there. And especially like when you give up Cassid and then pick Azir, knowing that you're gonna leave that last pickup, you have to know it's gonna be a Cassidon if you banned it twice and then didn't ban it this game. So then you pick Azir into that, and here's the thing, like there's this Emperor's Divide. There's also there's a Hecarim charging in. There's a Thresh, and you know what goes it completely nullifies all that? A Rift Walk over everything,
Yep.
straight to the back line. And you know what Godby did over and over again? He roamed and cleared things up, something he can do faster than Cool's Azir. And several times in team fights, he would just hit the back line like a truck. And yeah, that's the show.
Nah, it was really a beautiful performance from LGD, and I've got to say I was really happy to see Quan or TBQ show up this series. He really played outstanding League of Legends, even on a Nunu, a champion that not a lot of people respect, but such a great champion to play. And to see it work this good, you know, the counter jungling and the presence that he had in lane with getting the turrets down and then switching over to the Sejuani and then eventually to the Gragas, and with all three champions he had major impact into the game, and
Yeah,
OMG just let everything happen. They picked the Maokai jungle. You know, there's a reason it's only played in solo queue in the jungle and not in competitive play.
yeah, it has some shortcomings. I mean, sure, you have the same like kind of idea as the top lane Maokai, but you don't have that lane dominance anymore. You're instead dominating neutral monsters in the jungle,
Which are a
somewhat less
big threat.
impactful on the game. Yeah, sure, we're gonna go with that one. But yeah, like you said, a great series by LGD. I love that Chuan is continually showing up in the jungle. You've got Imp that a lot of people considered, you know, like the second-rate deft. But man, is he looking scary, and
Yeah, he's really looking good.
I am super excited for that. Wayless or Godv, whatever name he chooses on the day, is starting to step up towards that top Chinese carry that I always really wanted it to be like. Last season, Wayless was in Struggle Town. He was the mayor of Struggleville. He was like the best player on his team in a team. Last season he was the LPL's Amazing J. That one guy that you see on the team and you're like, damn, that guy is really good. But the team. And this season, he's got a whole lineup, just carry potential out the wazoo, whatever that is. And it's just great to see LGD blowing up exactly when they need to here towards the end of the playoffs.
Yeah, congratulations to them. Definitely, they're going through to against Snake. I just want to point out one more thing. And we looked at the pick and ban phase for OMG. We also saw Cool just really upset during the games or in the pauses. Is this maybe a really bad decision making from the coaching staff from OMG, or is it the players?
Well, I was seeing some interesting thing for. Notably enough, I think Aaron was the one that called a Galio pick that nobody agreed with. Kind of sucked things up in the very first series for EDG, and everybody's like, okay, is that a questionable coaching decision? And then you had things like in Vici Gaming's previous series. Sometimes you'd see Mata get really upset with the way his team was playing, and then just start not necessarily trolling, but making some really questionable plays, disregarding his team's shot calling. And I think both of those things kind of came into play for OMG. Everybody knows that Uzi is a very emotional player. Like he's kind of like, you know, the piglet or the double lift. Like when they're hot, they are super hot.
Yep.
But when they, you know, things don't work out, when consistent problems continue to be an issue, I don't know if I want to use the T word tilt, but he definitely had a lot of need to kind of get his head in the game towards the end. Game 3, I think it really showed the effect that the series as a whole was having on him.
Yeah. All right. Well, we wrapped it up. I think that OMG's got a lot of work to do for the next split. I hope they're gonna stop bullshitting their fans, including me, because it really annoys me. And
One won the dream.
yeah, man. I mean, I just want to have them perform at the international stage where they belong, but pulling shit off like this is just not gonna. It's just not gonna happen, man. It's not gonna happen. But LGD, on the other hand, you know, they performed great, and I think they're gonna make the finals. I don't think Snake is gonna be too much of a threat for them. But yeah, perhaps MSI is really realistic right now.
Yeah, MSI, they've got a big wall to go through in front of them, but it's going to be super exciting to watch. Like any series that LGD or EDG play in, whether it's just the LPL finals or MSI, I'm going to be watching and I'm going to love what I see.
All right, man. Thanks everyone for watching.